Broadcasting live from her living room on Broadway. She's your grandma and mine. It's Dragma's Late Night Natterbox. Here's your host, Dragma! I'm talking and my microphone's not working. Sorry. Hello. Good evening, everyone. How wonderful to be back on a Friday night for a Dragma's Late Night Natterbox. How are we all doing today? I would love to know. Same rules apply as usual. Please just type stuff into the comments box because I do love a good natter with you all. And cheers. Please tell me what you are drinking. It's essential, I know, because as you know from last week, Dragma, when she wins the lottery, is going to open a bar and sell everyone's favourite drinks. Now, this week, I am drinking an exotic is a great word. An exotic morgue. An exotic morgue. Cheers to you, one and all. Now, let's see who is on tonight, quickly, because there's lots to do. Oh, before I do that, hello, everyone who's watching. I know there's quite a few of you. I'm going to go through the list, but before we do that, let's have a little look at what's coming up today.
Coming up on tonight's Dragma's Late Night Natterbox, we chat espresso martinis with Dragma. This week's lockdown looks, looking at hairstyle inspirations for your lockdown hairdos. We catch up on this week's fake news. And naughty stories with Dragma. All this and more on tonight's Dragma's Late Night Natterbox.
Well, nobody did tell me that I was reading naughty stories tonight. I wonder what those are going to be. Oh, you know what? Sometimes the producer just doesn't say anything to me. I'll have to have words with him. Anyway, let's see who is watching tonight. We have got Alex Waddell, my favourite, he's always watching. Simon Gammon, hello. Emma Anderson, hello. Caris Jones, hello. Philippa Williams was Martin, hello. Sophie Shears says hi. Tanya's watching, hello. Michael Cartwright's watching. Ian Swanick's watching. Chloe Thomas is watching. Elena Glynn is watching. Oh, gosh, there's loads of people watching tonight. Well, hello, how wonderful to have you here this week. I'm loving. Natalie Ward is watching. Hello, Natalie, darling, how are you? Philippa is drinking Bucks Fizz. Well, cheers to you, Philippa. And I believe Alex is drinking Stella. Sophie Hicksman's drinking wine. And yes, that's all the drinking. The pink gin for Sophie Shears. Sophie Shears, I can tell you're not wearing that costume that I told you to wear last week because you still haven't shut your beak. You are still chatting away. But I do love that you're chatting away to me. It's very lovely. George Fuller is drinking mineral water. Hello, George. Mineral water? What sort of minerals are in your water? I would like to know. Care is drinking squash. That drunken Irish lady, she's obviously having a bit of rehab today. today because she's drinking squash. Now, Simon Richards is drinking ginger beer. I love ginger beer. I do love ginger beer. Tanya, what are you drinking? Because I don't believe you've commented, and there's a few people still haven't. How has your week been? Do you know what? This week, I've found this week very difficult, if I'm honest with you. I found it quite tricky indeed because, the hay fever. Goodness me. That beech tree. I don't know where it is, but it is playing havoc with my nose. Can you see? It's literally just like, it's gross. I don't like it at all. And, Jamie Parr's back. Hello, Jamie. Yes, well, that hay fever. I've been taking my antihistamines, but it's just wiped me out something chronic. You can tell how not tanned I'm looking this week. Last week I was looking very sun-kissed and very beautiful. This week I'm looking dishevelled. Oh, there is one thing I need. Can you see my lips? Look at how big my lips are. My lips. I've had my lips done. I did them myself at home because the salon was shut. So I had to do my lips at home and I didn't have any collagen. So I just used whatever I could find, really, what was in the fridge. Well, there was some halloumi. So I melted it down and stuck that in my lips. Oh, wonderful. You're looking stunning. Beach was last week, oak was this week, says Susan Powell. Thank you, Susan. I do not know. Oak, you're a bastard. I hate you, Oak. But I do love the spring. So it's a real shame that the spring is making me feel so rotten. Jamie Parr says, hey, bitch face. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say. I'm assuming you're not talking to your mother there. Goodness me, you wouldn't talk to me like Orange Tango, DJ and Swanwick. We'll have Orange Tango. So does Jesus. Now that reminds me, actually, that song reminds me of many, many years ago when I went to Tenerife with my little brother. We went to Tenerife, and in Tenerife there was the most wonderful, wonderful drink. It was called orange mango, and every day we were allowed to go for a walk to the shops in Tenerife, minding those horrible, horrible cockroaches. Because have you seen them? Have you been there? These little horrible things, and they're screaming and whistling and at you. Not very nice at all, they're not. I'm glad we don't have them over here, although saying that, though, the weather is turning positively tropical. We might have cockroaches soon, and nature is taking over, as we've heard in the news the last couple of weeks. Yes, well, anyway, we were going on our daily trip to the shop in Tenerife to buy our favourite drink, orange mango. It's like a mixture of orange and mango, obviously, with a name like Orange Mango. And we would sing a song as we went. We'd go, we love orange mango, so does Jesus. So yes, Sophie says, Dragma, how rude. I know, but do shut your beak. Oh, I do love you, and now my Connie wants to meet you, says Joanne Hall. Joanne Hall, I have no idea who you are. I do really. But Connie, I would love to meet Connie, but unfortunately she better not be watching because I'm assuming Connie's quite young, and we're having some adult naughty... We're having some adult stories later after the fake news. Jamie says, thought you were going to talk to... What's with the New Age background? Ooh! Well done there, Mr. Waddell. Well done. What's with the New Age background? Well, I've been racking my brains on what to do during lockdown, and now that I've mastered this wizardry that is broadcasting software, I mean, it's very smart. I hope you like it. But now that I've mastered that, I moved on to focusing on my body, because my body is my temple. So the saying goes. And my body, well, what a temple my body is, I'm telling you now. I would show you all, only I don't think it's appropriate because it's only 9:09. Lee Collins has joined in. Hello, Lee Collins. Show us your down dog, says George. Well, there. Oh, fudging. There! There's me doing my down dog. Look, if I put my head this way, then see, it's me doing the down dog. There's my down dog. Now, I didn't know what the down dog was until this week, and I've been doing daily yoga exercises because I've got this thing. My grandson bought me this, you see, for Christmas, and it tells me whether I've closed my rings. And I'm telling you now, at the age that I am, you need to make sure your rings are closed because otherwise it all falls out. So every day I make sure that my ring is closed by doing... Eric Clapton's watching me. No, Edward Clapton. Sorry, Edward. I got excited then. I thought the pop star Eric Clapton was going to be watching me then. What have I been up to this week? Well, I've just explained. I've been doing yoga every day. I've been doing down dogs. There, look. Down dogs and the child's pose, you know, when you just flop on the floor. And my favourite one, the one at the end, is when you lie down and fall asleep. I love that one. That one I can do quite well, see. I can do that one very well. Yes. Kim Williams is watching, and Craig. Hello, Kim. Hello, Craig. Welcome to Dragma's Late Night Natterbox. Anyway, yoga is the thing to do during lockdown. I can highly recommend it. I am feeling absolutely wonderful for it, despite the hay fever. But when I'm doing down dog, when I'm doing down dog, it all falls out. And I do manage to close my rings, so it's very important to close your rings. David Westlake Toms. Hello, David Westlake Toms. How wonderful you can join us this evening. I do hope you're well. Please let us know what you're drinking. If you've joined in and you haven't told me what you're drinking, I do need to know. Anyway, let's move on with tonight's programme because I do believe I have... What else? Says Becky. You must stop distracting me. What else have I been doing? I went to a tea party yesterday. That was very wonderful. It was just me and then lots of other people on video. That was very wonderful. What else did I do? I didn't do much else, to be honest. Just yoga and tea. I haven't had one of these expensive morgues since, an exotic morgue, this one, since last Friday. As you can tell how badly my hay fever has been because I've not even been wanting to drink. Goodness me, it was like a detox. Anyway, let's move on with tonight's programme, just as I promised. Lockdown looks! So last week we looked at the wonderful fashion range of the lockdown looks, and tonight we are going to be looking at... Ooh, why is it not on the beginning screen? There we go. We're going to be looking at the lockdown looks hairstyles, because last week we did clothing. This week I thought if we did hairstyles, then we'd have the whole shebang, wouldn't we? Well, that's a good word, shebang. Shebang! We'd have the whole shebang, hair and suits to match, and that would be great fun, wouldn't it? Let's have a look then. So there's some crazy stuff, because I've heard some people, well, I'll tell you what, actually. I heard something about the Prime Minister doing a lockdown haircut. I don't know if it's true or not, but I did hear that. Excuse me. Gosh, that margarita's strong. It's not margarita. What do you want about, you weirdo? Anyway, back to it. I thought we'd look at some matching outfits, and yes, well, everyone's been doing lockdown hair and shaving their head, I see. So I thought, let's have a look at some styles that we can attempt at home. Cracking on with it. Here is our first one. I shebanged Care's mum. Alex Waddell. I shebanged Care's mum too. In fact, I think we both did at the same time. Poor Care's mum. Oh no. Oh no. This is live on air. Sorry, Care. It's true, though. Anyway, here's our first look. There! The lizard look! The lizard look. Now, everyone needs to have a wonderful lizard on their head. Look at this. I mean, it's a cross between the post-apocalyptic mullet and the mohawk. It's fascinating. Look at the way he's gripping onto his head. I do love the lizard. I shebanged Alex's mum as well, said George. Well, Care, your mum's been very busy during lockdown. Look, here's another one. Look at this one. Here we go. We've got this piled up high, like a sort of Marie Antoinette. Remember last week when I told you in 1926 I did that film? Well, I had to wear hair similar to this. Yes. And it was all high up at my head, and I was balancing along. I don't know how you balance this stuff, because I was having to do this quite complicated dancing. It was something like and anyway, my hair was so high, I had to balance it, so I was going and they had to speed it up, because I couldn't do it at the speed of the thing, so I had to do it half time, and they sped it up, because otherwise it would flop off. Well, anyway, one day it did. It just went, fell over. I went, timber! It fell down. But yes, this lady seems to be wearing it quite well. Notice how still she's being. That's so she can keep it balanced. She has to stay that still, you see. Lockdown looks number 3. Look at this one. This is like the sort of Rapunzel's palette. Lord knows, but can you imagine how long her hair has to be to get into that sort of way? I can't do it with mine. I can just about do this, but then you can see my where I've not. A little secret during the lockdown. We haven't been shaving, but also I haven't been dyeing my sideburns, and I've been letting them grow. Every good granny has a beard. I remember my Nanny Mary. She had the most wonderful beard. Do you know, when I was missing my boyfriend, I just used to go and snog my Nanny Mary, because it felt just the same. Horrific news. I shouldn't have said that. Dear me, I'm going to need to start censoring or pre-recording, because I'm letting it all hang out today, quite literally. Anyway, Rapunzel, banding it all up on her hair. Look, there she goes. How long her hair must be. That's what I was trying to say. I wonder how long her hair must be in order to get that long. Let's move on. Ooh, little animal. Nature is taking over in this hairstyle. Look, a little Bambi. Little Bambi hair. Who fancies Bambi hair? I think Susan Parr. I think you might look good. You must look good with a Bambi hair. Or Sophie Shears. Next one's for you. I think you should have a rabbit hair. A hair! A hair! I do love a hair. Isn't these clever hairstyles? And here's one. If you're missing your holidays and you fancy flying off somewhere, you could have this helicopter hair. Isn't it? I don't know what she's got on her nose, but her hair is looking fabulous. Not sure about the nose thing. And she's got a beak, by the looks of it. A beak. Shut your beak. I do like saying shut your beak. I'll mum your shebang. You can mum my shebang any day, Care. And, sensible. We won't have that. Oh, yes! Look, Mr. Exotic. Here he is. Joe Exotic. Has anyone been watching Tiger Face? Fascinating. Utterly fascinating. I do love the mullet here. It's mullet. Dragma, is that you? Says Sophie Shears. No, this is not me. This is Joe Exotic. He's in prison because he does terrible things to tigers. Oh, Spiderhead. If you're scared of spiders, or if you're living with somebody who's scared of spiders and they're doing your head in, what you could do is have this hairstyle, and then they'll stay well clear of you. Perfect lockdown hairstyle going on right here. A helicopter. Yes, a helicopter. Oh, sorry about your face, says this one. Well, if he'd looked in the mirror today, he would have looked at his face. He'd have looked at his... He'd have looked at himself and realised that there's more that he needs to be sorry about. Sorry about your hairstyle, man. Ridiculous. I do quite like it. I wonder if I could, flatten my fringe. I'd look something like this. Does this look good? Do you think this would look good on me? Please let me know. That's the one for Johnny Passes Me. Good. Right. Oh, there's not another one. Okay, I thought that's the end of the lockdown looks. Let's move on, shall we? Where are we next? Oh, I'm in my hair salon. Just inspired by the lockdown looks hair salon, I thought I'd go and get a haircut. However, there's nobody here, so I might have to do it myself. But we've just seen lots of wonderful ways that we could do our own hair during lockdown. Anyway, Emo Hawk. Yes, Alex Waddell. Anyway, it's time for the fake news. Shall we see what's been going on in this week's news?
This is the fake news on Friday the 24th of April. Hoga Noga. Senior doctors at the NHS have made an appeal to stop people from practicing yoga during lockdown. They said the rise in people doing their backs in from bad practice has caused a rise in A&E visits, which is adding further to the pressure of NHS staff. They said all our chiropractors have been furloughed, so there is literally nobody who can fix you. UK government accidentally brings back the death sentence. Thousands of people have been sentenced to death due to a communication error this week. The minister responsible said he actually meant to say yes, but because of hay fever he sneezed as he was dictating his response into Siri, who sent the message saying, "Kill them all." A spokesman said the minister actually said, "Yes please, thank you, you're amazing." Prime Minister shaves head for NHS charity. The Prime Minister was inspired by Captain Tom Moore, who raised nearly £30 million for the NHS by walking around his garden. The Prime Minister said, "This guy only fought a world war and paid taxes his whole life and has raised millions of pounds for the NHS. And now he's been branded a legend, a hero. With everything I've done, I deserve the same recognition, and that is why I'm shaving my head for the NHS." His Just Giving page shows he has raised £1.25 from just one person, Michael Gove, who said, "Well done, Bojo, you legend." Protesters in the US have been met with approval from President Trump. Taking to the streets with guns and flags, protesters say the lockdown against COVID-19 has breached their constitutional freedoms. President Trump said, "They seem to be very responsible people to me," and tweeted, "Liberate Minnesota, liberate Virginia, liberate Michigan." Wait, that wasn't fake news. And finally, TTEDF continues to spread. The Thomas the Tank Engine dance fever virus has continued to spread across the globe at an alarming rate. Ex-Prime Minister Theresa May has come under fire this week as she was filmed spreading the virus around Africa. She said, "I didn't realise I had it. I wondered why I was feeling so happy." And that concludes this week's fake news. Join us next week for some more fake news.
I just realised I said all of that without my microphone on. I'm very sorry. I said Boris Johnson with having his head shaved. What do you think of that? Anyway, we've moved on. I've moved on. Ooh, my sound is coming back on. I promise you. Please don't drop off. It is coming back on. It'll come back on any second now. There we go. It's back. I'm glad. Can you all hear me now? Sound is on. I know it's on because I can hear myself. That's why I thought it was on before, see, because I could hear myself. So I thought, well, the sound must be on because I can hear me. Let me just double check. Oh, yes, I am. I'm there. Woo, I'm back. Anyway, now, a few weeks ago, in the old format of the show, I read some late night stories, and a viewer got in touch with me this week, and they said that they loved the stories so much. Now, Dolly Parton here has been reading goodnight stories every week for the last few weeks. Every Friday night she's been releasing Saturday, she's been releasing a new goodnight story. So I thought, in tribute to the goddess who is Dolly, I would read you a little story. Now, not being rude or anything, but I sneaked into Dolly's bedroom because we're in lockdown together in the same care home, me and her. She was doing my head in with the music, right? But she was doing a concert outside in the garden for the drunk Irish lady. And I sneaked into her room and got her diary. Here it is. This is an excerpt. This is one of those bits that you cut out of excerpt. Is that the right word? Anyway, this is from her diary. I must crack on. Oh, goodness me, look at the time. It's called Higher Flying, and it's from Dolly's diary. He once dared me to have a... Oh, hang on. What's going on? Can you hear that? I'm on the wrong one, that's why. Let me go back. He once dared me to have a... Ooh, this is not working. Oh, well, do you know what? This isn't working. Because I can't actually do the things. Ooh. I can't actually do... No. You're going to have to wait till next week for that. It was working earlier when I tried it, but now it just seems to have gone kaput. This is no good. Why is that doing then, you think? Can you hear those funny animal sounds? Right, we'll do that next week. Let's see who's espresso... I'm going to do them myself. No, stick to the plan, Sparkles. Dragma, let's stick to it. Let's do it. Sorry. He once dared me to have a in a boat, just the two of us floating out on the water. So we rented a boat and sailed out into the most passionate cruise of our lives. Since then, we've made it a part of our relationship to each other in the most unusual places. We once got into the movies and found seats in the back row where I him while the rest of the moviegoers cheered the superheroes on the big screen. He took me on a date with his business partner once and under the table where we discussed the stock market. Another time I wondered what it would feel like to have him while the rain beat against my skin. Well, it rained that night, so he took me out, flipped me over his Corvette, and me from while the rain poured. I'm trying to think of some animals. Can you make your own animal noises? It would be much easier. That was when we decided to take love high up in the sky. Dolly, you saucy minx. When he boarded the plane, there was no smile of recognition when I showed him his seat. Dolly was obviously moonlighting as an air hostess. No one looking at us would have known that we'd been dating for at least a year. At least, have you lost track, dear? He took an aisle seat at the back of the plane and took out a novel, which he started reading immediately after takeoff. The 3 rows at the back were empty, and it seemed like he was floating in a sea of empty seats. It wasn't a coincidence that he had chosen this same overnight flight that was taking me back home. We'd always wondered what it would feel like for him to hitch up my short uniform skirt up to my waist and me from at 30,000 feet. The plan looked possible now that he was returning from a business meeting abroad. It wasn't a full flight, so I was hopeful. Saucy! He had his my inner thigh during the first meal service. I saw the way his eyes followed me up and down the aisles as I did my rounds. Then the cabin lights went out. That was my cue. I put on a black cardigan to cover my white uniform shirt so as not to draw attention. He woo me as soon as I got him, and I him, my face buried in his neck, my knees his hips, opening himself to him. He raised my short skirt and it gathered around my waist. He groaned when he realised I was woohoo underneath. I worked his belt and released his and he swallowed a moan. His woohoo followed my waha, and I rotated my waists as I guided me until he was buried in my woohoo. I moved up and down, slowly trying to woohoo every delicious of his velvety. I moo down until he was woof woof to the meow, and up until he almost wow out of my. He took the lead and me again and again. He lifted my shirt and found me whoop-a-loop-a-loopa underneath before taking a ripe and in his while my fingers with the ever the tempo of his didn't change, and as he woo, I him with my whoa muscles. Him. He kept my and pressed me down to his moo while he neighed with parts of upwards. I could feel the whoop of his whole as of my own woo approached. The excitement curled when my broke from the rhythm and became and even more powerful. I held the down from support, down on my as the tore through me. I'm losing my animal sounds right here. Then his hot moo as he his eyes shining in the dark cabin, the powerful deflating his whole until he fell back on the seat. I heard footsteps come into the back of the plane. Dragma's back now. I drew the curtain tight around my to conceal my uniform when a passenger walked past us to use the toilet. My boyfriend stroked my hand and smiled at me. So how does it feel to be a member of the Sky High Club? He asked. I stood up and gave him a smile. For a moment there I was soaring, I replied, and then stood up and went back to work. And that's the end of that excerpt from Dolly's diary, you saucy little one there. Goodness me, look at the time. I've wasted so much time. Do you know what? It's been so wonderful spending another Friday evening with you. I do hope you've enjoyed yourself and you've been having a wonderful time. And now I must go, because it's time for me to dash. My meds are due any minute now, so cheers to you. But just before we go, I've got some news for you. Next week, we will be joined by a very special guest. A very, 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 very special guest. My good old friend. She's got the best breastplate in Cardiff. Nope, she's got the best breastplate in Cardiff. Let's put her on again. She's got the best breastplate in Cardiff, but still the biggest dick. Unhinged West End diva, the fabulous Victoria's gone. Where has she gone? I don't know, but I must go. Good night. Thank you. Thank you for joining me this evening. I shall see you all next week. Cheerio. Auf Wiedersehen. I love you all very much. Good night.